But, I feel like the important sort of data point, and Steve talks about it a lot. He's going to probably talk about it a little more tonight, is that these are white Christians. That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians that are going to participate in these caucuses, especially tonight. Earlier today, reached out to Robbie Jones, from the Public Religion Research Institute, knowing that we were going to talk about Iowa. And this is a hyper-evangelical white state. And he said the following to me: Iowa is about 61% white Christian. The country as a whole is approximately 41% white Christian. And in Iowa, we're talking about evangelical white Christians. And he said the following. Because I asked him, what do they get out of supporting Donald Trump? Because he keeps losing, he keeps delivering losses and losses and losses. And he said the following: they see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. All the things that we think about electability, about, what are people gaming out, or none of that matters when you believe that God has given you this country, that it is yours, and that everyone who is not a white conservative Christian is a fraudulent American. It
projects that Donald Trump will win the Iowa caucuses. CNN can make this projection based on his overwhelming lead in our entrance poll of Iowa caucus goers and some initial votes that are coming in. The former president pulling off a huge early victory in his bid to return to the White House. Trump easily defeating his top opponents, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, who are now in a high-stakes fight for second place.
Joy Reid is making the headlines once again, basically because, in my opinion, she's nothing more than a racist journalist who does not like white people, and she has an inner hatred for Donald Trump. She's claiming that Donald Trump only won the Iowa caucus is because white Christians believe he will return the United States to them. Reid called the Midwest state hyper-evangelical and therefore full of voters who support the former president in his campaign to regain the White House. As we know, yesterday, the Iowa caucus, Donald Trump hands down beat every other Republican candidate. This report says he received 51% of the vote. We know Vivek Ramaswamy has since dropped out of the race. Asa Hutchinson has dropped out of the race. Ron DeSantis came in second, and Nikki Haley came in third. But Joy Reid cannot help herself. She has to spew her hatred for Donald Trump and for white people as much as she can. She discussed how overrepresented white Christians were in Iowa compared to the rest of the country on her MSNBC coverage of the caucus. She claims, and she quoted an author named Robert Jones, who just so happened to author a book called The Hidden Roots of White Supremacy, and she said Iowa was 61% white Christian compared to 41% in the whole United States. And she earlier asked Robert Jones why evangelicals were so supportive of Trump despite him losing to President Joe Biden in 2020. Of course, she had to throw that out there because we all know Joe Biden got 81 million votes. And Mr. Jones said they see themselves as the rightful inheritors of this country, and Trump has promised to give it back to them. She quoted Robert Jones as saying. Reid added that given white Christians didn't care how electable Trump was or about any of his controversies, when we all know Joe Biden has had controversy after controversy since he took office. He's had a document scandal. He's had scandals of making money from overseas entities from his criminal son, Hunter. But that's okay with Joy Reid and the liberal woke Democrats. But what she said pissed me off, and it should piss a lot of people off. She went on to say, when you believe that God has given you this country that is yours, and that everyone who is not white, conservative Christian is a fraudulent American, is a less real American, then you don't care about electability. Tell me now that you don't believe Joy Reid is nothing but a race-baiting, Trump-hating, white person-hating journalist, and she spews her nasty comments whenever she can, and everyone is okay with it. And there you have it. It doesn't get any worse than that, and it doesn't get any more racist than that. The only reason that Donald Trump won Iowa is because of the white Christians, the evangelicals, that she called them. And her friend Robert Jones told her because Iowa is based on white supremacy, 61% of Iowans are white Christians. So apparently, there's no people of color in Iowa. There's no, a white Christian is the only person that resides in the state of Iowa. I don't know what the population breakdown is, and I don't pretend to know. But what I do know is this woman is going to be on the air spewing her hatred towards Trump and any other white person as much as she is allowed. You are not going to tell me that these people, all the woke liberal media, are not in cahoots with the White House to bash Trump, bash DeSantis, bash Haley, and how they like to call the MAGA movement, the White House, the DNC. They are calling the shots for all these liberals who have to make sure Joe Biden wins re-election. And if it's not him, I talked about it in another video, how I believe that Michelle Obama may be their candidate. If I was a journalist on a platform like MSNBC, and I went on and spoke of Obama like I hated black people, he only won because the black population, he only won because of whatever had to do with African Americans. If me as a white man ever did that, my career would be over. I would not ever be able to be on a news show ever again. Because if I had an opinion like that, which I don't, you all know, I've said this a million times, I don't care what color your skin is. If you can do the job, do the job. But these people, the Joy Reids, the Whoopi Goldbergs of the world, they hate white people. And they have such a hatred for Donald Trump that they actually believe that Donald Trump will get back in the White House and become an automatic dictator and stop everything that has to do with minorities. They believe that he is going to take people like gay people and journalists and put them in concentration camps. They believe this. And they expect their viewers and listeners to believe such nonsense. Now, I don't know what kind of brain capacity their listeners and viewers have, but if you're that shallow and that weak of a person that you are really going to take what they say to heart, then you have no place in society anyways. You should be down in your basement watching a woke cable news show and never come out again. What gives these people the right to say that and spew such racism and they get away with it? But we all know before, when Twitter was Twitter, before Elon bought it, they were silencing conservative voices every single day, and it all came out that the Twitter executives were meeting with White House staff. I'm not making it up. You know it's true. The liberal news media knows it's true. It's out there. They were telling Twitter who to silence and when to silence them because you could not have an opinion about some bad policy or another failure that Joe Biden made since he became president. But Joy Reid can say whatever she wants. She can call Donald Trump a white supremacist, his followers white supremacists, or what have you. and nothing will ever happen. They think that this is a democracy, the way Joe Biden is running this country. They're okay with letting millions and millions of illegals into this country because they know they are the people who are going to vote for the Democrats because the Democrats open the doors to heaven. Come on in the United States and go about your business. Just make sure you vote when it's time. And don't worry, you won't need an ID. That's not a democracy. A fair election where people go to a polling place, present an identification that proves it's them, where they live, should be able to vote. And I know anybody can get a fake ID, but for these Democrats to think voter ID is racist is ridiculous. If that's the case, then we shouldn't need an ID to drive a car. We shouldn't need an ID to buy alcohol, buy a firearm, or anything. Because it's the same thing, right? Oh, you're a racist asking me for an ID to buy this 12-pack of beer. It's the same thing. But they won't say that. It's not racist to get carded to buy booze, but it's racist to ask for an ID to vote. And Joy Reid is one of the biggest supporters of that bullshit, and it's never going to end. The country will never be united again until these reporters, such as Joy Reid, get off their high horse and stop all their racial division bullshit, because that's all it is. And I'm quite sure that she actually believes that if Joe Biden doesn't make it to the finish line, that cackling hen Kamala Harris is the perfect candidate for the job. We are in trouble with these people. Pay attention. Listen to what they're saying. They do not want unification. They want division. And that nonsense needs to stop.